True Trade. My name is Uri Beckman. I am one of the founding partners. Today, as you can see here, I'm screen sharing with you guys a recent interview with Jamie Dimon on the Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong and the Clarity Act, which is now progressing towards its eventual passing and becoming an official law in the United States of America. So stand by, I'm just checking with my team, making sure it's working. Okay, it looks like the stream is working. This is great news. Okay, let's give this a play here, and let's see if you guys can hear the audio. Okay. Okay, so apparently you guys can't hear the audio. So let me tell you. All right. Well, so here we have Jamie Dimon, and he's talking about the Clarity Act that's coming in. Now, the title of today's stream is, where we got it here, the top 5 crypto leaders after the Clarity Act. And it's not who you think it's going to be. Now, the reason that's the title we made is because this Clarity Act is coming in. And this will be the second law ever passed by the United States of America supporting Web3, all things blockchain and crypto. Now, other countries have already had laws for quite some time, whether you're talking about Switzerland or Singapore, the UAE, Dubai. The UAE's gone so far as to even have specializations in supporting crypto, including RackDAO in Ras Al Khaimah. So a number of other countries have already been way ahead of this market. It's not if the market's going to happen, it's an absolute certainty. But in all things global finance, the largest economy in the world, the dollar that runs the world's financial systems is the United States of America, and it's US dollar. So until the United States has this Clarity Act passed into law, a lot of the industry that will support global blockchain and how the United States sets that tone for what is going to be law there, which will also then affect the rest of the world, it still needs to happen. So the Clarity Act, though, is getting some pushback. So what Jamie Dimon here was saying is that the banks will not support the Clarity Act as it currently stands. They're going to want to see some other things happen. But the reason we gave this title to this live stream are who are the top 5 global leaders going to be after the Clarity Act passes is because until that law passes, the current dominant global leaders, as you know them to be in blockchain and crypto, that already have businesses, that already have products and services out there in the market, that already have users signed up, that are using their services, aren't necessarily yet compliant until the law passes. Now, most of them and parts of them probably may be compliant once the law passes, but they're still gonna have to wait to see once that law is completely put in place, understand everything that it requires, and then the big leaders are gonna have to turn around and look at all of their services, all of their products, all of their users, and make sure those are compliant. So the whole global state of blockchain and crypto in the United States and in a lot of the world is still in this unregulated place, AKA the Wild West. And every single time this has happened before, where a whole industry went from unregulated, the Wild West, to regulated, the previous dominant global leaders in that industry in the past have been shooken up quite a bit. In fact, in other industries, the global dominant absolute most market share leaders were completely replaced. And that happened in the most recent history in the global CBD and cannabis industry. And one that you might remember more easily was music streaming. At that time, Napster and LimeWire, Napster mostly was thought to not ever be going anywhere. They were absolutely the pioneer. They were the dominant leader. We, as the world didn't think that they'd ever go anywhere. We hadn't even heard of at that time Spotify and iTunes. But as the laws came into place, Napster was completely removed, totally wiped off the board, because they couldn't go back and change the things that they were doing that was not compliant. They didn't bake into the foundation of their business model the laws and the regulations, so they couldn't survive. They couldn't make edits and changes fast enough. Whereas the groups that built their business according to the laws, like Spotify and iTunes, when they launched, they could take over and gain that maximum market share because they were doing it legally, and they rose to positions of dominance. And now we know they are still the leaders to this day. So the question is, who of the major global dominant leaders will be able to adjust and evolve to the laws and maintain their position? And then the biggest unknown, and this happens every time in an industry, as it goes from unregulated to regulated, who will be the new leaders? Now, there are projects I've already heard of. I'm in touch with the CEO and some of the founding members, and I'm going to work to share more information of other projects that I think have done things the right way, and they have the potential to step forward as a new leader in the now new regulated blockchain Web3 space. There are projects I'm aware of that you've never even heard of, where if I just showed you what they've built in terms of their tech stack and the foundation, if you didn't know anything else of what they've managed to achieve behind the scenes regulatorily, if you didn't know who they've raised capital from and how much they've raised, you would probably think at first glance, if you're really familiar with the current Web3 blockchain industry, you'd probably think at first glance the project's not really maybe that advanced, maybe it doesn't have that substantial of a body of work. And if you were to compare it to who you currently think are the leaders, you might think a project like the one I'm thinking of that I'm referring to is maybe not going to be that successful in the markets. But once I told you the regulation that they'd already achieved, and once I shared with you how much money they raised and from whom, you'd probably want to participate when they do go public, just in case. Because the amount of money that I'm hearing that projects that are already going out of their way and doing it the right way according to the United States regulations, the amount of money that these projects have raised is more than any other blockchain project I've ever heard of ever before. And that's just the ones that I'm personally aware of. And I'm hearing whispers, and I'm generally aware of other projects that are similarly in the United States of America pursuing the regulations. And because they're pursuing the regulations, they can get the funding and the financing from the big, powerful funds and players that are the leaders of dominant finance, like Mr. Dimon here. But you haven't heard of them, and they're not yet public because they too are waiting for the Clarity Act to pass. Now, similarly, that's exciting because as the regulations come in, no one has a crystal ball guaranteeing exactly what's going to happen in the future. No one. But in the world of finance, they generally know their history, so they have a pretty good idea about knowing what the future holds. It's an expression in general because it's worked time and time again. If it's not exact, it's generally what's going to happen. And in cannabis, some of the most money that was made by the bankers and the investors that were able to participate were in the initial legal IPOs. Now, in that case, it happened on the stock markets in Canada, the Toronto Stock Exchange, the TSX, and the CSE. In this case, we're talking about blockchain and Web3. So we're talking about coins. Those would be initial coin offerings or token generation events. And that's where it gets exciting because more capital than ever before will be able to come in to blockchain when it's legal, when the groups that have the most money, who have to adhere to the laws, can finally participate in a big way. And I'm not talking about just an ETF, like we've had a few now come out for Bitcoin initially and then Ethereum and some others, but I'm talking about actual pioneering industry leading projects. There's going to be projects focused on real world assets. I have a feeling that that's initially what will be coming out. They've already talked about, it's funny seeing Jamie Dimon, who I have an incredible amount of respect for. What he's achieved in his career is amazing. Not only was he a pioneer in finance, but he's clearly one of the most dominant, bleeding edge thought leaders and experts we have in the whole world of finance. But it's been very interesting to see he himself or Larry Fink from BlackRock, where originally you could go back and find clips a few years ago where they were vehemently opposed. But in all fairness, a lot of their opposition came out specifically just regarding Bitcoin, but they were very much saying that blockchain and Web3 and cryptocurrency wasn't worth the hype at that time 2 to 3 years ago. Now, if you watch clips like the one I was trying to share with you, we'll get the audio working for the next live stream. You can see that they're very pro Bitcoin, or pardon me, not Bitcoin, but they're very pro Web3 and blockchain because it's absolutely coming. And it's not this thing that needs to be overwhelming or confusing. It's just a new foundational underlying technology that finance, future data sets, and industries will run on. It's just something that's faster, safer. In my opinion, it can allow for more trust than we've ever had before as a species in participating in commerce globally. And when there's more trust, and hey, by the way, it happens to be faster, once the laws exist, we can do more commerce around the planet, more so than ever before. And that's the part that's really exciting. Now, in my personal opinion, this isn't obviously financial advice. Obviously always do your own research. But in my personal opinion, I would imagine projects like Ethereum, currently the absolute definite largest global leader in Web3 and blockchain, they're absolutely working and are actively pursuing making as much of their platform, the projects connected to it, and their own products and services legally, regulatorily compliant. In fact, I'm already aware of a new Ethereum that they quietly, I didn't even see a press release go out about it, announced, because I'm aware of this one project I was just mentioning that's raised more money than I've ever heard of any other blockchain project ever in the history of the industry raise. I heard from that project and the founder there that they were having to pivot how they had built their token and their technology to make sure that they were compliant. Previously, everything was built for Ethereum, their layer 2 apps on their ERC20. That's their OG original Ethereum that you would build a token or a layer 2 app on. Quietly, a few months ago, they released a new Ethereum, I believe it's 3643. We'll have to double check that. But that's one that was now based on the first laws that existed in America, which was the Genius Act. So the Genius Act covered stable coins. It covered gold, silver, and some ground was covered on real world assets. That gave a legal framework that you could build something as a layer 2 solution on Ethereum, and you knew that what you built was according to the US regulations, and that's a solid foundation so that you can get your product and service out to market, get your token out to market, and you don't have to worry that you're on shaky ground and you're gonna have to change or pivot, or worst case scenario, when laws come out, you might find yourself illegal. So the real question is going to be, now that Ethereum has a legal framework, what's going to happen? I don't even know. This is a great question. If you're watching this live or you are watching the replay, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. The real question is going to be, what's going to happen with all the solutions, all the layer 2 apps, all the wallets, any products or work that's taking place on, let's say, traditional ERC20, the traditional, to date, global dominant leading solutions that a lot of projects, tokens, and products have been built on, which may no longer be legally compliant now, according to the Genius Act, and once this Future Clarity Act passes. And that's a really good question. Like I told you, there's other projects I'm aware of that are doing it the right way. They haven't launched yet because they're waiting for the Clarity Act. And just because they're pursuing the legal foundation the right way, they've raised more money than I've ever heard of ever before in the entire industry. The one project I'm thinking of, one of the founding partners told me that privately that they had raised billions of dollars. And to date, in one round, in one initial raise pre-going public, that would be the most money I've ever heard for a single project ever. So that means things are going to start to get exciting. And for me, as a prospective purchaser of these things, I always want to know as early as possible, of course. The more legitimate, the better. If they're built according to the laws, then as these things have happened in the past, more recently the cannabis industry, before that, one of the most exciting times we've ever had in the markets ever was the .com boom. to be in a position to be able to take advantage of those opportunities when they're first going public, or ideally, if I'm lucky, if I can learn about them before they go public, that for me as a purchaser, as a fan of this industry, seeing for myself what I believe to be a very clear and strong reason why it's going to come in and take over the new evolution of global financial technology. That's the stuff that I'm the most excited to learn about, to be aware of, and to follow as they move towards their own public launches. So it really is interesting to understand, what of these projects that we have that we're aware of that are currently in, let's say, the top 20 or the top 50 market caps, which of them are built according to regulations? If they're not, what does that mean when these laws pass? Are they going to be able to pivot in time? What does it mean for their existing users or wallets or services? Does that mean they're going to be illegal? Will they have to stop or pause that work while they pivot in order to become compliant? And then the simple point is, what projects are going to be launching and starting that are compliant from the outset? That's what I'm really excited about. People that work in the world of finance, whether it's traditional finance and the stock markets or the Web3 blockchain financial markets, that is the thing that they are the most excited to be following. They're keeping their ears very close to the ground, and they want to learn about so they can be in the right position to participate immediately, as soon as possible, when these laws pass and these new legal, regulated, according to the regulations, projects go public. Now, another project, no financial advice being given here, obviously no claims, and there's no expectation of future earnings. Do your own research. Only buy what you could afford to lose. But another project, the reason I'm doing this live stream for you guys right now today is because of this project here, Peace Through Trade. That is our very own blockchain and AI project. It's something that we've been working on. It's been incubated at a group of 3 universities in Southeast Asia by researchers, scientists, and academics now for more than 5 years. The whole thing has been built according to the laws and the rules and the regulations of Singapore, which in our opinion was absolutely one of the most trusted and leading financial jurisdictions that was very progressive with the foundation of laws that they had already passed. So for Peace Through Trade, our entire strategy was build it according to the highest standards we could find anywhere in the world. So that way, when the United States finally passes their laws, Peace Through Trade is qualified, maybe even overqualified, but either way, we can launch without any concern or fear of still being perhaps overexposed while the laws are still being passed. So that for us was really, really important. Now, we built Peace Through Trade also so that we could have B2C or consumer-facing solutions, and possibly also work, if we should be so fortunate, at the government level as well, on government solutions. We built it with the foresight 5 years ago, where we wanted to be one of the most sustainable, if not the most sustainable, global blockchain AI ecosystem. We care about the environment and we care about humanity. And that was our focus. We actually were hoping to be, 5 years ago, perhaps one of the most sustainable and energy efficient blockchains. I won't go too deep into the weeds here with the technology, but you can go to peacethroughtrade.com. You can check out the 3 white papers we currently have public. They're always undergoing updates and revisions and edits. So stay tuned. If you've downloaded an older version and it's been a few months, come back and check out the new updated versions. But 5 years ago, when we started building this, we actually took it upon us to do something that some people said we were totally silly to be doing, which was we actually built the energy economics and architecture of Peace Through Trade as a layer 1 to be quite literally the exact opposite in terms of energy usage to Bitcoin. That might not mean a lot to you, depending on how technical you are. It meant something to us. And basically what it means is Bitcoin, as it continues, it gets harder and more energy intensive to keep it secure and to support it from a mining standpoint, the computers that support the Bitcoin blockchain. And that's the argument for Bitcoin believers, and the most hardcore of which are referred to as Bitcoin maxis. That's their argument for why they believe it is worth what it is and it will continue to maintain its value. So it's a pretty innovative an outlier approach to try and take on that very same energy mining architecture that Bitcoin, the most successful original OG project in the space and the most successful in terms of price per coin ever in the history of the space thus far, with Peace Through Trade, when we took on the energy economics and we said, actually, we're going to do the exact opposite. We're going to make it the most efficient from an energy usage standpoint blockchain that we think there is anywhere in the world. And we are going to make it more energy efficient so it uses even less energy as it expands and as it gets used more over time. So quite literally the exact opposite of Bitcoin's approach. But that's what we did. It's my personal opinion that Peace Through Trade is probably the most sustainable, most energy efficient usage, global layer 1 blockchain and AI ecosystem right now on the planet. I'm very excited about that. Right now, we can run our entire system that we just have running ourselves on solar entirely. That's pretty exciting. We have our layer 1. We have a mobile wallet app that's in beta. It's already being used. If you're interested in checking it out and using our beta version, which is not yet live in the app stores, feel free to check out peacethroughtrade.com. You can put your email in and you can get access to the early beta usage of our mobile wallet. We also have our own global social streaming marketplace app. Right now, we already have beta users in there, putting in their videos, getting engaged with the community there, and seeing how Peace Through Trade, the mobile wallet and the coin and everything's already integrated. But right now, we're just having fun with it. We know that it's not going to be perfect. We're trying to see what, if any bugs exist or what we can break before we launch it to the public. And we're going to get ready to do that with the community that we've got signing up at peacethroughtrade.com. We've also built our own Peace Through Trade exchange, which you can learn about more information. We also have our own stable coins, which is something we've put a lot of hard work, time, and money into, and we're very excited about them. So they'll provide some stability and extra liquidity between Peace Through Trade coin. Peace Through Trade, because it's the utility coin of our own blockchain, like Bitcoin, its price is expected to fluctuate over time. So that then could be liquidated, or you could move between our own stable coins. That's something we're really excited about. We built our own native AI, which helps monitor and secure and helps us achieve our sustainability goals for the whole global ecosystem. We've got quite a bit going on. We've done pretty good work over the last 5 years. We have an incredible team that's really dedicated to these things. And if you check out peacethroughtrade.com, I'm also going to be doing once a month private Zooms where I share with you guys, our closest community members, the updates and the progress that we're making as we get closer to rolling out our apps live to the app stores and also our future ICO. So I think right now we're at a really interesting time in the world of global blockchain. I know, based on my past history of seeing markets go from unregulated to regulated, that there will be shakeup, that some of the dominant global leaders right now in blockchain, and I don't know who they are absolutely going to be replaced. I know right now it seems impossible. I've just seen it happen twice before. And at those times when I was watching it happen in CBD and cannabis, it was unbelievable to me. But after that experience, I knew for a fact this can absolutely happen. And I also know that projects like Peace Through Trade, of course, there's no guarantees with Peace Through Trade specifically, but I know when projects build their projects the right way for the long term, according to the regulations, I know that that means that when the regulations pass, they're on solid ground and they have maximum runway ahead of them, if you will, and maximum altitude, because they don't have to worry about turning around and fixing anything that's overexposed that might now be illegal according to the regulations or now might not comply according to the laws. And the majors are absolutely, I don't know exactly which ones and I don't know exactly which part, but by the very fact that they're the largest solutions out there, they've got the most users and the most working products out there, there's going to be a lot of modifications and edits and changes just to keep up with the laws that they're going to have to go through. Now, I'm sure most of them are preparing for this. They're very well funded, so they should be able to do it. But what's happened in the past, just to use the CBD cannabis industry as an example, is the majors couldn't pivot fast enough. And those that had the solid foundation of the laws and the licensing in hand, at least in the cannabis industry, were able to go public. They were able to raise the most money, and then they went ahead and they acquisitioned most of the largest leaders that we thought were going to be themselves the global dominant giants in the public markets. But the big public companies in Canada snapped up the leaders that they wanted to, and the rest that couldn't apply and comply with the compliance, that couldn't get the licensing, were gone. So it's a very, very interesting place to be. The Clarity Act looks like it's moved to its next phase. I believe it's in the Senate. There's a few things that still need to happen. I think we're probably still months away from it being ratified between the House and the Senate and officially passed into law. I have no idea exactly when it's going to happen, but my personal opinion, I think early fall. Right now we're recording this on June the 1st or 2nd. So I think it's completely reasonable. June, July, August. I think by September, mid-September, it's totally likely, or sooner possibly, although I'm generally more conservative when it comes to laws and government's timing. But I think it's completely possible mid to end September, we have this Clarity Act in place. And get ready, because that could be, if it also happens to coincide with the timing of Bitcoin's price turning around, which right now, depending on who you talk to, that's at the earliest, maybe early October, at the latest, end of January, early February. If that Bitcoin price timing matches the regulations and this new Clarity Act passing, and Bitcoin's moving the markets up, and the laws are in place, so now the largest funds on the planet and the publicly traded companies all can participate in this space at the same time the Bitcoin price turns around, that is going to be a very exciting and inspiring time to be participating in and be a part of these markets. I think there will be a lot of abundance, a lot of prosperity, and it's a very exciting time. I've personally been waiting for that to happen for 5 years with Peace Through Trade, and just myself as a purchaser, a fan, and a supporter of this industry and this space. It's also completely possible that just those regulations passing and all the capital that's going to be able to move into the markets and now finally participate legally, because they're required to only do it legally, that Bitcoin's price could also turn around at that time, perhaps forced by the liquidity of the market. Who knows? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And once again, just really quickly, I want to thank all of the Peace Through Trade community members. As you might have known, if you saw my update, we have more than 100 million views now on social media just this year in 2026. We are one of the leading blockchain and AI projects on Instagram worldwide, other than, of course, the top major leaders that you know of that are obviously, of course, world famous. But by views and engagement, we are actually one of the most viewed by views and engagement blockchain projects on Instagram. We saw that we were in the 0.01 most viewed pages on all of Instagram for what we're doing with blockchain and AI as it's focused on equitable access for humanitarian projects. I think we're probably the most by views engaged project, which is incredibly exciting because predominantly as a project, we're mostly in stealth mode. You guys don't even know yet who we have officially on board as advisors. You don't know yet completely, because we haven't shared it publicly, who we have officially now partnered with the project. You don't know of yet our foundation that was officialized and became a reality last year. You don't know yet who we have as the majority controller partner of that American foundation. It's pretty exciting from my perspective. You don't even know yet, because we haven't shared it here publicly, which official government MOUs Peace Through Trade has recently completed, and the government is promoting it. You don't know yet completely of our very own mobile wallet and streaming apps that are working, that are fully integrated with our blockchain. And the last project I know that tried to do that publicly did incredibly well with their coin price. But if you want to know more details, and if you want to understand more of those updates, make sure to head on over peacethroughtrade.com, put your email in, become a member of the community. We're referring to ourselves as peacemakers. Understand more of the timing and our roadmap as our apps are going to go live en route to our own ICO. And more importantly, understand how we are really hoping to utilize blockchain and AI as a solution for sustainability and humanitarian projects globally. All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Make sure you're following us wherever you're watching this, on Instagram or X or Telegram, and stay tuned for our email updates. We'll talk soon.